Hi, everyone. Hello. Oh, it's so good to see all of you in the chat right now. So, hi, hey, how's it going? I am Kalli Champagne, and this is the AllBrands show. So, thank you all so very much for tuning in and being with us today. We've got a very, very exciting show today. So, I'm super excited for you all to see it. Let's go ahead and say hello to a few people in the chat before we get started, and then we will get rolling on with our show. So we've got Linda watching from Houston. Hi, Linda. It's really good to see you. Hi, Larry from Kentucky. Always great to see you in the chat, Larry. We've got Donna McCaffrey watching from Ohio. So great to see you as well. We've got Barbara Jones in the chat as well, watching from Houston. It's another multitasking day in the Jones house. That's so awesome. You're making personalized luggage tags for customers. That's super awesome. I am so glad that you're having that you're able to multitask and watch the show with us today. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is the AllBrands show. If you're new around here, we do this show every single Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Central. So, if you're just watching us for the first time today, please stick around. We've got some awesome knowledge and tips, tricks. We're going to be talking about some fantastic sewing machines today. And we are going to be doing a $50 gift card giveaway at the very end of the show. So please stay tuned. Do not forget to stay tuned for that gift card giveaway, where we do them at the end of every single show. So do not miss out on that at all. Now, so guys, we are going to be doing our hashtag for the giveaway yet again. So remember, please go ahead and use the hashtag AllBrands. I'll put that up on the screen for you right now. Hashtag AllBrands. It should be scrolling across down there at the bottom of your screen. Please go ahead and use that hashtag to enter yourself into the $50 gift card giveaway, and then we'll pull at the very end of the show. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on our guest today. We're going to be talking Bernette machines, and we have just the right person to do it. So let's go ahead and bring on Sylvain. Hi.
Hey, hi, Kelly.
How are you doing today? How is everything over there in your neck of the woods?
Everything is good in Bernette land, and happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm really excited to talk about these machines. Now, we do have some awesome Black Friday deals on these machines that you guys are just started to run. And I'm going to go ahead and put those up on the screen for you right now. This is the Red is the New Black Friday sale. I love the name of that. So, guys, these are some of the machines that we're going to be talking about today as well. We're going to be talking about the B64 and the B77. And these two from November 19th through the 30th. Now that starts tomorrow. You can get both of these machines for $9.99. Either one for $9.99. And this is running through November 30th only. And on top of that, you can also get a B325 for $9.99. There are also some other fantastic deals that Bernina's got going on. A B33 for $199, regular $309, and a 480 for about $2,000. And that is normally $3,149. So go ahead and check out one of our retail stores if you would like to purchase one of these machines. If you're not near one of our stores, you can go ahead and call our 800 number for any more information. So please call 1-800-739-7374 for any more information that you would like to get on these machines. If you want to, before you stop in to one of our locations, definitely do that. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and just jump straight into talking about both of these machines. I'm really excited for you to talk about the features on these.
Take it away. Well, I have a little Bernette story to tell. Actually, there's two chapters. One is, I wish Bernettes had been around when I was a grad student. I lived on $10,000 a year back then, and I needed a good sewing machine because my $15 special garage sale machine, it didn't cut it. So I waited, and eventually I ended up with a Bernina, but it took longer. I wish I'd had a good machine sooner. It would have shortened my learning curve. And we're going to talk about that today. What are the features and why it's important to have a good machine from the get-go, because your skills grow from there. And also, when I joined Bernina, and now I've been at Bernina, it'll be 25 years in January. So I usually joke that I'm a Bernina snob. I'm spoiled. I work with top-of-the-line Bernina machines every day. But I was in charge of helping launch the Bernettes, 70 series especially. And I fell in love with those machines. That's the kind of machine I wish I'd had way, way back. And my nickname is kind of Captain Bernette because I work with them on an ongoing basis. And even though I'm spoiled working on Bernina machines, I just did a video that we do a series from, and I did it on the Bernette this time. And it was like going back to, that first time you met and you really fell in love with that machine. It was fun to bring all those memories back. So my first project when I joined Bernina was to basically do a guidebook, what we call a mastery workbook, where you could do exercises to learn your machine. And it was for the Bernettes of then. Now, my baby's all grown up. They've come a long way. So that being said, let me give you basically a roundup of key features to look for if you're looking for either your first good sewing machine, you want something that's affordable, and you want the features that will be there for you today and some room to grow. Now, when I say affordable, we know that Berninas come with a price point. They're built to a high grade, they're Swiss engineered, they're not inexpensive. You get what you pay for, but they are not inexpensive. And Bernina's always want with the Bernette line. Bernette, by the way, is the name that was coined between Bernina and the name of the mother of the current chairman of the company when he started the brand Bernette. It was Bernina and Odette, the name of his mother, and the two together became Bernette. So symbolically, that meant we want the Bernina quality to be in there, but the mission of the brand is to basically make machines that are more affordable, available with a high-end set of features and very good quality. So, and the brand Bernette delivers on that. So when Bernina wanted to go above, your basic mechanical machines with 20 stitches and stuff like that, they said, okay, we can go electronic, and that's kind of a step up. But what if you want embroidery, or you want like a top-notch sewing machine with dual feed, bright light, big space, the contemporary standard for a sewing machine? Then the challenge was, okay, we need to put Bernina know-how with value hardware. And value, the word value is relative, right? It's not necessarily the most features for the money. It's not necessarily the cheapest price. It's this sweet spot where you get what you need at an affordable price. So Bernina went to work with a manufacturer. Bernette is made for Bernina, but Bernina worked very closely for the 70 series with the manufacturer, to the point where the layout that you see here, and if you work with a Bernina machine, you know this layout, the knobs, not common on this price range. This is going to be $9.99, on sale. It's basically in that range. That machine with these features is unheard of in that slice of the price bracket. A touchscreen in the center, the speed slide control here, all your key buttons here, all laid out like a Bernina because the manufacturer designed this hardware platform just for Bernette. So this is not like a lot of junior brand machines is basically a sticker on the front made by somebody else, but it's the same machine. No, this is exclusively a Bernette. There is no other machine on the market that is like this. So that was important, which means the manufacturer worked very closely with Bernina, hand in hand, so that the hardware would deliver. We were making tweaks and refinements within a month of launching this platform because we wanted it to perform. And the manufacturer has been very good with Bernina to do that. And then all the Bernina know-how. The numbers are knocked off the 7 series Bernina. I would say in features, this is very close to, let's say, a midline of Bernina 5 series, and at a much more affordable price. People often ask, what's the difference? Well, you don't get a jumbo bobbin, you get a conventional bobbin, but it's a drop-in bobbin, which means it's easy to put in and it's easy to see how much thread you have left. So there are still advantages, and within that price range, you get the features. So talking of features, let me jump in and show you what some of the key features are on this. And I saw the spreadsheets when these machines were being developed. I saw the spreadsheets of all the features that went in, and they were color-coded. If it was green, it was that this machine and its sisters are at the top of their class. If it was yellow, they were at par with the top of their class. And across the entire set of features, whether it's speed, number of stitches, the size, the lighting, the dual feed, all of that, there's three machines in this range. The 77 is the sewing only machine. It is so well-rounded. It was at the top of its class, of a price point range, if you want, on the market. Nothing else touches that machine. It has top features across the board. So talking of, you have 9 inches to the right of the needle. That's big. That's above average for the class. You can tell the lighting is very bright. It's bleaching out my hand. That's the native lighting of the machine. You can dim it. If you work on lame, on shiny material, on dark fabrics like black, you can actually dim the light or even turn it off so that you don't get too much glare when you work. So that's all controllable. There is, for instance, here, you have a 7mm stitch width, which is standard, best of class for a drop-in bobbin machine. You have dual feed. This machine has dual feed built in, the Bernette dual feed. And so and the default foot uses it. So the traction on your fabric, the transport of your fabric is optimum every time you sew. There's a range of feet included with it. And several of them include dual feed feet. And there are optional feet available also if you venture, and because when you have a good machine, you can tackle projects, you can actually add additional presser feet later. Needle threader is built in. And actually, if you saw the presser foot go down when I did this, this machine raises the foot on its own. And when you start sewing, you just step on the gas, it will drop the foot and start sewing. So all those little, I want to call them distractions, manipulations that we used to have to do, like go in the bag, drop the foot, reposition the hands on the fabric, check out, maybe lift the foot, adjust a little more. Nowadays, you don't have to do any of this. You position with your two hands. There's a free hand system here. When you push the bar, it will lift the foot. So if I push the bar, you can tell the foot went up. And then when you put it down, you start sewing, you're in business. So your focus is on the sewing and not all these little things that take time and attention away from sewing. And I don't know about you, but when my typical time for sewing would be in the evening after work, after dinner, after, back then when I was in grad school, when my son, my baby son was going to sleep. So I was tired when I started sewing. So if I could focus on my project instead of all these little extra things, I would get more done for the same amount of time I have to sew. So that's all built in. So the freehand system is there. And if you leave the foot up, when you step on the gas, it will drop and you can start sewing. And it will save you time. Another thing that will save you time is that it sews up to 1,000 stitches a minute. That's at the top. That's high end for that, the value market, as we call it, for this price point of a machine. That is actually a fast machine. And I tried samples this morning. I even tried a quilt sandwich. I was having fun making the stitches smaller, bigger, faster, slower. And I was not able to get a single pucker, and I was not able to get a single stitch not balanced. It looks as good on the back as it did on the front. It's your standard cotton low loft batting with 2 layers of quilting cotton. And every stitch, there's even triple stitches in there. They all came out impeccable. And again, remember, I'm a Bernina snob. I work on top of the line Berninas that cost way, way more. So I'm used to impeccable stitching. So I'm picky when it comes to my stitching. And the one thing that made me fall in love with these machines is that I even tried, this is your cotton, 16 layers I did this morning. I recounted because I thought maybe it's not, but it's 16 layers of cotton. So if you want to do a tote bag, this will do. And the machine went through it with a triple stitch. Any stitch you want to throw at it, it went just through it like it was butter. So the power is there, the speed is there, the bright light. So your working environment is set up for you. Now, on the front, you have the touchscreen. And this is where this machine really shines. Based on the Bernina user interface, therefore, it inherited the interface know-how of Bernina, where we have, on all of our machines, we have, when we have a touchscreen, it's centrally located. So when you're working, you just look up and you can glance up and see verify your settings. You're not looking away from your project, so your attention stays focused. And then you're back to sewing faster that way because you didn't have to turn your head even. It's all up here. This interface is the Bernina interface. So if you've used a Bernina before and you need a second machine, for instance, and you say, well, I don't need to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a second machine that I will take to the cabin or on trips or retreats, this will have the features built in because they came in from the Bernina world. The Bernina user interface is baked into this. The hardware platform is what allows us to make the price point more affordable, but the know-how is already on Bernina, so we were able to graft it in here. The knobs, very intuitive. I grew up with a stereo. I know how to crank up the stereo, right? So if you want to rotate something, you want to enlarge the stitch and all that, it's all easy. You turn the knob, you crank up or you crank down. Couldn't be easier, right? And when you change something on the screen, just like on a Bernina, it turns yellow. So that visual interface tells you what's happening and what you did, so that you, at a glance, you can quickly tell what you've done and whether you need to do something else. And something unique that is not found even on high-end brands. Only Bernina does this. Every stitch in here, if the stitch is, let's say, half the width of your maximum stitch width, like, or even if it's a triple stitch, for instance, you can move the needle position. So instead of moving the fabric this and that way, you can say, no, let's line up the fabric with the toe of the foot. That's easy to track. Then I don't have to do extra work. Let the machine move the stitch where I want it instead. And that's a feature inherited thanks to the Bernina user interface, and it remembers everything. So when you work with this, if you change anything, it will turn yellow on the screen. You'll know what you did. And then you can go to another stitch, do the same thing. When you come back to a stitch, so let's say you did a straight stitch, you're doing applique tonight, you're doing a blanket stitch, you changed it, it started at a certain size. I like applique, like small applique at too wide by too long. That's nice and easy. Set that up. If I go do a straight stitch on something else, if I go back to my applique stitch, it remembers what I did to it, so I don't have to. We call it the altered stitch memory. It's the most beautiful feature with the longest name, but basically it tracks the tweaks, the details, so that you don't have to. That also is inherited from Bernina. Normally, it's not available on high-end brands. It's not available in this product category at all. So the Bernette really, really blazes a trail there. So you have ergonomics up front. You can send the needle down with just a button. You have a securing function. You can control your speed here, including when you wind a bobbin. You can control the speed of winding of your bobbin. Everything is covered nice and easy at your fingertips. There's a thread cutter built in. So you sew, you cut, you go back, you do it again, right? You don't spend time looking for the thread snips and cutting, and then put that down and then go back and do the next thing. You just focus on the two pieces of fabric you're going to put under and go with it. So efficiency and productivity time, guaranteed. Now, it comes well equipped with a bunch of presser feet, even a second spindle for double needlework if you need to, and everything fits in the accessory box. All you have to do is put it in. Whoops. Normally I sit in front of my machine. So you put that in, it goes with, and if you take the box off, you have your free arm. And then let me show you, there is, I won't jab myself in the ribs, but there is an extension table. It's height adjustable, so if your table is not level, you can make sure the table will be level with it. But when you put that in there, it will attach to the machine. It will attach to the machine firmly, so that when it's in, it is not budging off the machine. A lot of in this product category, this price category, a lot of tables just slide and park next to the machine, and if you're not careful, they slide away. This is adjustable and firmly latched into the machine, so that you don't have to worry about this shifting around when you do a big project. I just did a video to do a patching. It was a tutorial on patching a tear in a duvet cover, a big tear, how to put a patch instead. So seal that with stitches and all that. I was able to manipulate the big duvet cover around this table, no problem. It was super easy. When it's on, you need to really pull to take it off. It is not going to slide away by mistake. And then you can laugh. Now, there are 4 legs when you're on a full table. This will be completely stable. So that's for the extension table. You can drop the feed dog. You need to do some mending or some free motion work. You can actually do this there. You just take that off, and it's all done in one bit. So super easy, well lit, ergonomic. From threading the needle to sewing, it's really no time at all. Now let me show you under the hood here. The thread path is pretty conventional. You wind your bobbins here. When you engage the bobbin winder, the machine will know. And then you can control the speed of winding up here. So if a thread is prone to stretching, let's say monofilament, you can actually slow down the winder. And if it's like good old embroidery thread or cotton thread, you can go a little faster and wind that bobbin. And then you just put it in. There's a stylus included. So when if you want to do some work with the stylus, you can. But the touchscreen works just fine with your finger. Personally, I prefer the finger. It's more direct for my brain, so I just touch what I need. The beauty of a touchscreen interface like this is that you see the stitch, you touch the stitch, you get the stitch. Then a couple of tweaks, you're in business, you're ready to sew. Meanwhile, you didn't let go of your fabric while you were there, and you could lift the foot with the freehand system bar. Or if the foot was already up, let me bring the foot up here. By the time you step on the gas, this foot would go down and start sewing. So it's a fraction of the time to get ready, and 90% of your time is spent on the project, on the sewing, what you really want to do with the machine. So that is basically the scoop for the 77. It's super well-rounded. For this kind of price point, you are getting the top-end features across the category. So you're getting maximum value for your money. There's even thread cutters built in underneath here. There's one on the side here, and it will hold the threads. And when you cut, it will hold the threads until you resume sewing. Again, a time saver. You don't have to hunt your threads down if you want to cut them externally. When we do decorative work, it's nice to keep the threads out so that you can control them better. So there's two options here for cutting, underneath or on the top. So that's for the Bernette 77. In terms of sewing, it is really at the top of its class. I fell in love with this. I made a couple of projects on it, and it's, coming from the Bernina world, I was always wondering, am I going to miss this or that feature? And really, I didn't, because the Bernina user interface baked those features, that usability right into the machine. And I was very, very impressed. So I fell in love with the B70 series. It is really, really a sweet spot, and it does everything. I wished I'd had something like this when I was a graduate student. My mother, little anecdote, I had made a garment on my old machine, and she saw that, and the old machine couldn't do very well. And then when I finally got a good machine, she, people who sew, they do this, but she flipped the garment right side out, and she looked at the finish inside, and she says, "Wow, your workmanship has improved." And my answer was, my machine has improved. Once you have a good machine, you can trust that it will do what you want. There are overcasting stitches in here. You can overcast the edge. You could do a lot of things. Basically, a whole garment, a whole tote bag, all the tools and the stitches that you need to do this are built in. And before we wrap up the 77, talking of the stitches, there are 500 stitches so far built into this machine, and they're organized in tabs. So I'm on the practical stitches right now. That's your straight stitch, your zigzag, your triple stitch. You want to reinforce something, right? Then we have decorative stitches. So you want to do something pretty, decorative stitches. There's even alphabets. You could write quilt labels if you need to write. My mother used to write tags on the children's clothes when they went to school, so they would come back, right? So you can actually do your alphabets. There's script, block, and double block. So pretty basic, pretty standard. There's well over a dozen. There's, I believe, 17 buttonholes in there. So whether you're doing a knit buttonhole, a shirt, a blouse, pair of pants, heirloom buttonholes, they all came from Bernina land. So the variety is there. There are 2 eyelets that you can sew. Those can be very convenient. And there's a button sew-on program. 80+% of the buttons on the market have the same spacing between the holes. So the program is built into that. You put the button on. There's even a press-a-foot with the rubber toes that will hold down the button. You just drop the feed dogs, and then you can sew your buttons even with the machine. And when you make a garment, I started making shirts when I started sewing. You make a garment, the last step between making and wearing is the buttonholes, right? And the buttons. So I bought my first good machine because my old one could not do decent buttonholes at all. So this takes care of that last step for you. So you have a wide variety of buttonholes. There's a quilting menu, again, courtesy of Bernina. Bernina is well known in the quilting world. So you have feather stitches in there, piecing stitches. You have a bit of everything. So, and I played with some this morning. I had a lot of fun with that. And then there's even a personal program. So this, again, courtesy of Bernina user interface. You do a stitch. I mentioned my applique stitch. I like the 2 millimeter wide by 2 long for small appliques, right? If you do this all the time, you don't want to change that stitch every time you turn on the machine when you want to do applique. You can just tweak it once, move the needle position over. If you change anything on it, then save it. The machine will remember all those changes for you. So when you turn on the machine, next week, next month, you want to do an applique, you just retrieve that stitch. It's all pre-programmed for you. It's yours. You get to sew it. You don't have to waste time resetting the machine to do what you've done before. It remembered it for you. You can just save that in your personal program. So very, very useful features. The rest, you have a bunch of setup options. You can customize this machine to work the way you would like to. There's a creative consultant, buttonholes. First time you do buttonhole on a silk, it's expensive material. You don't want to mess it up, right? So you can go in there and say, I have a fine woven. I want to do a buttonhole. What should I do? It will tell you, use a fine needle. It will select the blouse, the delicate buttonhole for you. It will set it up. It will recommend if you should use a stabilizer or not. And then when you say go, it puts up the stitch and you are ready. You just need to measure the length of the buttonhole. And that is done automatically for you, because when you put the button on the, what we call the slave foot, the buttonhole foot, when you put the button on here, there's a little lever you pull down. It will make the buttonhole exactly to the length of your button with a little allowance for the thickness. So you are good to go. Again, from making the garment to wearing it, that last step is not going to be long because the convenience is built in there. Again, the Bernina brains with the value hardware is what took those two impossible things and made them one. So now you get the benefit of it. So that is for the Bernette 77. Do we have any questions, Kalli, on that?
Let's see. I'm not seeing any questions. It looks like, Sylvain, you're just such a good presenter, and no one's got any questions. Guys, if you do have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. We'll definitely try and answer those live for you. Actually, Teresa had a great question. Teresa was wondering what the price is on this machine, and now's another good time to bring that up again. So guys, this is the B77. Look at this machine. You just saw it. It is gorgeous. It's funny, Sylvain, that you said that, because like I wish that I had a machine like this when I was in grad school, first starting all of my garment sewing. If I had had something that would have done buttonholes like that, oh my gosh, that would have made my life so much easier. And I probably would have made more shirts starting out. So this machine is really, really fantastic. And guys, because of the Black Friday special that starts tomorrow, that Bernina is going to have going on, starting tomorrow, you can get this machine for $9.99. So definitely come in and visit one of our stores. Take a look at this machine for yourself. It is a gorgeous little machine, and it can do so much. Oh my gosh, it can do so much. So if you're near one of our stores, please go ahead and stop by. We've got all 6 of these locations. So please stop by and visit your local one and take a look at this machine. Seeing is really believing. It is truly just, I love this machine so much. I do. And I see we've changed positions. So we are at I know, we swapped.
The magic of television.
Right. So that is the B77. It is just, I love that machine so much. It's so cool. And now we're going to pivot just a little bit, and we're going to talk about this awesome little overlocker. So Sylvain, which one, what do we have in front of us right now?
Okay, we have a Bernette B64. Bernette has a full line of overlockers. This is the latest baby. It's an air threader. Ooh, that's special. Now, when I got my first overlocker in the 90s, most people, a lot of people call them Sergers in the US. They seem intimidating at first when you need to thread. There's 4 threads. 2 of them are knitting each other, right, with the loopers. And yet, on a conventional overlocker, it's not that complicated, but you do have to follow a certain order and a certain path. And Bernina always color codes the threading chart, so that's not too hard. But you have to do it in the right order and hit all the points. And to a lot of people, that's intimidating at first because you're used to one needle and on a sewing machine, and that's very straightforward. So what the mission here, and again, the Bernette mission is make the machine affordable without sacrificing quality. So Bernina works very closely, and I recognize some Bernina features on this that you won't find on other brands. So and Bernette being, again, we have a manufacturer who makes value hardware, works in very close concert with Bernina for the quality, and Bernina is very, very strict. They are Swiss. They do not deviate on quality. It is part of the DNA of the brand, and I tell you, we are obsessed with quality. It's like we're quality freaks. So, which is a good thing, right? That's why I came to work for Bernina, because the high standard appealed to me. So combining that with value hardware, you get your basic, what we call a 2, 3, 4 thread overlock or serger. That's your standard. That's your, that's like a car with a transmission, right? It drives. So you can do mostly 3 and 4 threads, right? 3 threads is to finish an edge. 4 threads is how you build these things like on knit garments. So you can make t-shirts. You can whip a t-shirt in less than 10 minutes on one of these, right? So that's 3 and 4 thread. 2 threads is usually some, I want to say, fancy or more decorative applications where you can do like flat lock, where you do 2 pieces of fabric and they will flip, and you can get either a ladder stitch, but you can get really good finishes on that. So it's got all the basics of a 2, 3, and 4 thread serger. Now, what's special is that every aspect of an overlocker that may have been a bit of a hindrance or that has a learning curve has been shaved by the design of this machine. One, something you'll see right off the bat, it has a freehand system, right? And it has a knee bar that will lift, that will lift the presser foot. That is uncommon on sergers, on overlockers in general. Now, in this category, this price category, it's just about unheard of, and this has it. Just like on the sewing machine, you want to put your fabric presenting right to the machine, you lift the foot. If you left the foot up, you can just nudge the bar, it will bring the foot down, you start sewing twice as fast. Not speed-wise, but in terms of preparation. So that's that. The cutting bit, I was having fun this morning. I was playing with it because this is not my machine, so I had to invite it to the party. And the cutting bit is nice and big, which means that when the knife cuts the fabric at the edge, that's the serging part, it will actually contain your trimmings as you work. You don't have to empty all the time. The star of the show is these 2 little ports here. This will, and there's a button here, this will literally thread the loopers automatically, just air threading. That takes the challenge of threading. And my mother has arthritis in her hands, her thumbs she can't knit anymore. Threading something like this that is not an air threader, like a conventional, would be difficult because she cannot maneuver her hands as easily anymore. This, you just present the thread into the little holes, press the button, it goes out, the thread comes out of the loopers, you are threaded. Not only that, on conventional sergers, you always have to thread the upper looper first, followed by the lower looper. There's a galactic law of the serger. On a conventional manual threader, if you reverse the order, your thread chain will break because of the way the loopers crisscross each other, right? It has nothing to do with the thread. It has to do with the sequence of events, what I call the mechanical ballet underneath, right? So here, none of that, because this is basically tunneling the thread through the machine, popping it right into the loopers. It does not matter what order you put it in. So this morning I threaded backwards, according to convention, and it felt good because I did not have to remember what the order is anymore. I just did this one, that one, done. So air threading is brilliant. Then you have all your regular stuff. The knife is right here. One thing I should mention right off the bat, all the controls are on the outside. Some sergers, you have to open the door, open the left side to get to the knife or to get to the cutting width and stuff like that, because that part of the mechanism is here. Not on this. The ergonomics were very important. You can lift the presser foot right here on the side. You don't even have to reach back there anymore. There is no lever back there. It's here. Then all your controls, the stitch length, which is on every overlocker out there. And a good overlocker today, most of them do have what we call differential feet, right? So that you can sew perfect seams on knits and wovens without any kind of distortion. So differential feet is here. You have a hand wheel in case you need it. Typically you don't, but you can use the hand wheel all you want. Before I close the door, a couple of things. Bernina was one of the first companies to ever put all the tools, like the screwdriver, the brush, the tweezers, and all that you typically use with the serger, to put them either on the door or just inside. Here, they're just inside the door. And so you don't have to go hunt for your tools. If you're good, you put them back on their slot here. They are always there when you use the machine. So again, time saver. So when you close this, and there's a little switch here for your air threading, all in front of you. You don't need to dig into the machine to do anything. And all the innards threading is done through these 2 little ports. That's it. You don't have to get in there. It gets in there for you. So when that's closed, you have your cutting width here. And then, remember I said Bernina took their know-how and worked with a value hardware manufacturer, right? That's the definition of a Bernette. Well, they have a cutting width, and then we have what's called MTC, micro thread control. So if you remember the old days of the, like a shortwave radio, there were two knobs. There's a coarse knob and the fine knob, right? You need to fine tune. So the cutting width on a serger is how wide the fabric is going to go off the edge before it gets cut, and then the thread wrapped around it. So actually, let me pull a sample. So you have the cutting width is what's trapped into the stitching, the red stitching here. So that's the coarse adjustment. But when you sew a garment, whether it's plain cotton or you're sewing a garment on polar fleece or sweat fleece, right? Or you're redoing a seam, you may have calibrated the 2 layers, you adjust your cutting width, it's all beautiful. Then you put in a cuff, and suddenly you have 4 layers. And then you go, why is my seam too tight? That's because all that extra loft inside the stitching is eating the thread up, if you want. It's causing the thread to tighten up around the seam. So that micro thread control is where you can just basically fine tune that. It says either ease up, allow the thread to go a little further out, or if you started on something thick and now you're transitioning that same seam into something thinner, you can actually tweak in and reduce the amount of thread slightly that will be, or the fabric rather, that will be cut and allowed into the seam. So you can you do coarse and fine adjustments so that you don't have to play with just the cutting width. The cutting width, as I said, is a coarse adjustment. When you play with that to fine tune a seam, it's easy to overshoot, and it takes more time to troubleshoot or fine tune your seam, where the fine adjustment fine tunes your seam in native mode if you want. It's much easier to do it that way. Then you have this little lever here that you retract for rolled hems. You do napkins, you want to just a fine little rolled edge at the edge. You just withdraw this, and then you basically, the finger will withdraw, the fabric will roll over. You adjust your seam accordingly. There is a quick start guide where all this is all explained. And there's also the manual is pretty thorough. So you go to the page for a rolled hem. If you've never done one, it will walk you through the process. Super easy. That little lever, by the way, Bernina was first to introduce this in the 90s on their sergers. And it made it because before that, you had to unscrew the stitch plate to replace with a rolled hem plate. And that little lever has been really a huge time saver because all it does is it moves the stitch finger in and out. So when you don't have to do anything with tools, you just use it there. You have 1 or 2 needles here, nice and easy. There's a thread cutter on the outside here. And do you see my red thread is going up to the thread cutter on the side? It's still holding it from when I worked this morning. So when you finish, you chain off like on a regular serger. You can cut up here and it will hold your thread. So when you start, you don't have to worry about this thread chain coming here and dangling around and maybe getting trapped into the next seam. It stays put at the back and you just start the next seam and it will go with it. So again, another time saver and a trouble preventer because it keeps the chain of your stitches controlled at the back. Super easy threading, lay-in threading. So you clip at the back, you go here. You don't need to go around anything. It just goes down here and then you cross the bridge for the needles, for instance, and then thread over here. By the time you get here, it looks pretty much like a sewing machine. So it's super easy to thread. And then on the back, on the outside, on the left side, there is a knob there for the presser foot pressure. For instance, if you're doing a soft polar fleece, if your presser foot pressure is too high on any sewing machine, it will tend to stretch because polar fleece is kind of spongy. Well, if you're sewing one of those, you test a scrap. Always test the seam anywhere on a sewing machine, right? So you test a scrap and you can reduce the presser foot pressure, and it's right here on the outside. So far, I have, other than air threading and seeing my tools, I have not done anything on the inside. I have not had to open anything on the inside. I'm going to take this extension table off to show it to you. That's a big surface that you can add. It's included with the machine, and it is fastened to the machine. When it's on, it's on. So that would give you a big table for like big flat projects. You want to do hemming on a big batch of fabric, that will support it better. If you're doing something smaller or something that needs to just fall off the edge, then you can actually use it without the table. And better yet, let me put this down. Better yet, free arm. In this price category, a free arm overlocker is almost unheard of. So not only you have all these refined features that would be available on high-end sergers for a much higher price, you have these features here. and you have a free arm. So if you want to do like cuffs, you want to shorten the sleeves on a sweatshirt because it's too long, you could actually just put it on the free arm here and redo your seam there. You don't have to open all the side seams to flatten this out and do it the long way. So that would be actually a lot easier. And then if you're doing just smaller projects, this free arm cover goes on, and then you still have a flat bed here for smaller pieces. And then the table will take care. The beauty of it is that this goes on the free arm, then the table goes on to this. You don't need to take one thing out to put the other thing in. It's all modular. It all goes in. So everything is on the outside. The only time you open this would be to go clean inside. You clean regularly, right? But you would take the plate off here to get access to the inside, which is standard for a free arm. But the rest, you don't need to open this beast up to sew because it's not a beast. This thing is really designed for sewing ergonomics. Again, just like the Bernette 77, you focus on your project, on your seams, on your sequence, and you don't have to worry about opening this, because a lot of the sergers in this price category, you open the left side to get to the knife, sometimes to the, some of them, the older ones even, they used to do the stitch width inside. Everything here is on the outside. And that's something that Bernina looked for, that everything would be easy to get to. You don't have to, and there's no controls down here. So when your fabric is here, your project's being sewn, you don't need to lift the project to get under to tweak a setting. You can do everything straight out here from the top and on the side, on the outside. So again, your project goes through, the controls are completely separated from the fabric base. So you're good to go. And again, when it's time to bring the foot down and start sewing, the freehand system here on the side will do that for you. And it's basically lift and drop the foot. And if you had the foot already up, you can just release it. Release it and bring it down to as you sew, as you prepare against the knife, which is standard Serger operation, just made easier. So in terms of value, oh yeah, you can carry the thing, of course, and then you can, you can collapse this if you need to bring it somewhere. Collapse this, grab the handle, and go with it. You can carry it with the scrap catcher, the cutoff bin already attached, so it's nice and easy package to use. Ergonomics are there, performance is there, and all the things that people who look at a Serger for the first time say it's a bit intimidating, all those things, were basically shaved off, because threading, operation, settings, all on the outside, all easy to do. Cool. Do we have questions on the B64?
Yes, we do actually. Let me go ahead and pull some of these questions up for you. So we had somebody asking about, looks like somebody was asking about cover lock, and this machine can do a cover stitch, if I'm remembering correctly.
No, this is a serger, so it's 2, 3, 4 thread sergers, not a cover. It does not do cover stitch.
Okay, there it is.
Bernette has a cover stitch machine, the 42, the Bernette 42.
That's it.
It's cover and chain only. And we have a 48, which is cover chain and overlock, a combo, but it's not an air threader. So if somebody's looking for their first overlocker, and when you do 4 threads in the business, it's called a 4-thread mock safety stitch. That means that's the seams you see even on the side of my jeans. Actually, the outside seam here is done on one of those, right? So you can sew garments with that, especially knits. You can do, and I've used this, you buy a sweat fleece and eventually the seam opens up. It's a piece of cake to fix that. So that's for combo. This is overlock, 2, 3, 4 thread overlock, not cover. And actually people have options, right? Some people like to have, I have a cover stitch Bernina machine from way back, because that was always available to do like a chain stitch for fittings, where my overlock could stay for overcasting and do the more typical overlock work. So you can separate the two if you want, or you can do combos, but this is an overlock at this point, with the big advantage that it's the air threader. So you from changing thread colors, thread types, changing project, you can rethread this. I did it this morning. I unthreaded the whole thing. Sometimes we pull threads through. I cut everything, removed everything, and it's okay. Let's see how hard can this be, right? And it did not take 5 minutes to thread the whole thing. It was just air threading the two needles, and that was done, right?
Yeah. And so we also have a question from Shelly. Shelly is wondering, is this the top of the line serger for Bernette?
For Bernette, yes and no. Yes, it's the only air threader we have at this time. So in that respect, if you want a 2, 3, 4 threads overlock or serger, yes, that would be our top 2, 3, 4 thread. If you want a combo machine, that would be our 48 still. So so that's why there's 2 parts to that answer.
Okay. And then we had another question. It looks like we already had Jordan answered this one in the chat already, but I want to answer this one for the people at home that are curious about it. How many feet come with the serger?
Oh, you know what? That is a good. I'm glad I printed the brochure. Because
I believe it's just the one, but
no, the Bernette line is what, about almost 10 models by now, plus the Bernina line. So I call it
right.
press a foot bingo. Because there are so many, the number changes for each machine. So let me see here. I will have to look here. Aha, there you go. So 16 stitch configurations, 5 LEDs. I forgot to mention bright LED lighting, very important, and it's color neutral. The old lights were all yellow, and that can, if you work with certain colors, that could impact how you saw. Speed is 1,300 stitches a minute, which is par for the category. And this set of accessories, let's see here. Okay, that's what I thought. I wanted to make sure. I come from a research background, and I don't like to just give an answer. I need to reference it because we used to be called on that. It comes with the one overlock foot, because that's an overlocker, and that's pretty typical in that category. Right. There are optional feet available for creative techniques. The reason they're not all included is because, if you include everything, then the price of the machine goes up, and not everybody uses that. So why pay for something you won't use? That way you can purchase the accessory feet as you see fit and need them. And then you basically, just pay for what you need. So it comes, and the foot has the grooves on it, the raised grooves that indicate the needle position. So even when you cut, you know where your needles are from the front. So you don't have to look back at the needles. You can see exactly where your seam is going to go based on the groove on the foot. And that's important because, if you're cutting fabric off, you need to know where that seam is going so that your ease on the garment is going to be there, right? So that's all built into the standard foot.
Awesome. And guys, Jordan was awesome enough to link that kit of all of the separate feet for the for this Bernette machine in the chat. So if you do want to purchase those, or if you're curious about the other feet that you can purchase for this machine, definitely take a look at that. Maxine is wondering, can you use other feet in the line, in that actual line of feet that's compatible? Yes. I hope that answers your question.
If overlocks, you have to be careful because they look the same, but the position of the foot shank to the actual feed dog and all that, it can be unique to the machine. So that's why if we have like the Bernette 40 series, there's 3 machines, and then there's some cross compatibility between the machines because they're from the same platform. But this air threader is different. So there are feet specific to this machine, and that will guarantee the results. That's the main reason to do this, and then also they fit the machine for that reason. And then you mentioned the optional press of feet. Also on the 70 series, like the B77, there are 8 optional press of feet. For instance, a 1/4 inch piecing patchwork foot, right? And it's dual feed enabled, which is great for your precision of piecing.
Yes.
There's 8 different feet available for the 77. And there's a kit of the 8 feet together. So if somebody is in the Merry Christmas mode, planning to do a little Christmas present, I always say that is the perfect stocking stuffer.
It is.
Actually, sometimes I get asked, even for somebody, for instance, Megan, my colleague, we love Megan. Megan at 16 had garments in fashion shows, okay? She is good. So at that age, if a kid, and I say kid, if an adolescent is sewing, that with a good machine, they'll keep going. They will grow. They will aspire to more. They will do more. And maybe down the road, they'll buy a big enchilada of a machine, but they need a good machine to be able to take off with their skill. And if a so-so machine, is put in front of them, that may actually extinguish the flame. They might get frustrated. They might, give up. So if you know somebody who is a college student or a grad student, right? And when I sewed as a grad student, I started with shirts, but I did like the wood carrier for the wood stove for the house. I did curtains. I paid for my first good machine with a bay window set of curtains because I bought the fabric at an end of rolls shop, and I saved over $1,000 on the curtains, right? So a good machine will let you go there, will be there with you. And so it's a good investment into a skill, a craft.
Absolutely.
To me, I'm a father. If you can foster a craft in your child or your niece, your nephew, anybody, that's one of the best things you can do in life. So if you need a serious machine, but you don't want to break the bank, that's why the 77 is right in the sweet spot in the crosshairs of that, that mission target where you don't want to sacrifice features, but you want something that's affordable. That 77 is right in the sweet spot for that.
Right. And we had a few people asking just now, some other folks were wondering what type of needles the Serger, the overlocker.
Okay. The Serger recommends, and I joke that we have a needle exchange, at the sewing lab because we go between machines and techniques. So it recommends ELX needles, which are Serger needles. And people go like, why should I, we get this a lot. Why should I use a special needle for a Serger? I have used universal needles on the Serger on a 234, and you can get away with it, but it's not ideal. Now, if you do embroidery, you use an embroidery needle, right? That's a specialty needle. If you sew on jeans, man, I bought 6 pairs of my black jeans, and I paid $120 for the 6 pairs. They were originally $110 a piece. So I use a jeans needle, right? That's a specialty needle. That's a special type of needle for that particular job. So if you get an overlocker, because the needles have to crisscross with the 2 loopers, there's 2, 3, or 4 threads being kind of knit together. Right. The needle needs to be just the right type to do the perfect job every single time. So it's the same cost basically for the needle. You just buy ELX needles, you keep them with the machine, and then you know that you will always have the optimum needle, because you can have the fanciest machine. We have really fancy Bernina overlockers, right? But if you have it and you pay thousands of dollars for a machine, and this is not, but if you paid like thousands of dollars for a machine and you give it the wrong needle, at the stitch point, it's the needle delivering the thread into the fabric. So the needle is actually the most important piece of equipment on that machine, regardless of how fancy or basic the machine is. The pudding is going to come out of the needle. That's if it's the wrong type, it's not going to work. So ELX needles are uniquely developed for the serging process, not for Bernette, not for Bernina. All brands of sergers pretty much will recommend a similar needle. You can get away with a basic, universal, whatever. But if you want optimum results and you want to be able to go full speed and not look in the back in the rearview mirror, you want to use the right needle. So it's just called an ELX. The store where you buy the machine has them. You just make sure. And a little known fact: overlockers, your maximum recommended size of a needle is usually 90. Where on the sewing machine you can go 110, 120. Right? But on an overlocker, you don't sew leather with a household overlock machine, right? Period. So you don't need those big needles. And the spacing of the loopers, and when the needles crisscross those loopers, if you saw a machine in action when the covers are open, there's a lot going on. So that needle, size 80 or 90, is the recommended sizes. I typically use an 80, and if I use something a bit heavier, like a denim, I will go to a 90. And that's as big as you need a needle in an overlocker. Most important is the type, because it will dance with the loopers and the rest the right way and deliver the stitch quality that you pay for, basically.
Right. Exactly. So, wow, what an awesome overlocker. You guys, hold on. Let me go ahead and put our little overlay that we've got for this this overlocker machine up so you can see it. Again, it's, oh gosh, guys, I love this machine. The air threading alone is really a shining feature of this machine. I think it's so great. And so convenient. So this is the B64. And so guys, I just want to point out to you that we're going to be running a Black Friday sale starting tomorrow on a ton of these Bernina or these Bernette machines. And on Bernina machines, but Bernette is really the star of the show today. So we've gone over the B77 and the B64. Now, both of these machines starting tomorrow and going through November 30th are $9.99. So if you are in the market for a new overlocker machine, a new sewing machine, these are going to be your best bet. I am in love with these. I think that they are fantastic pieces of machinery. They are quality. They are top quality. And really the price point is truly excellent. Now is the best time, I think, to take advantage of and pick up one of these machines. It's truly, I have no words. I love this so much. And then on top of that as well, you can also get the Bernette, the 325 for that $9.99 price point as well. And the B33 is only $199 from the 19th through the 30th. And the 480 is only $19.99. So guys, remember, these deals do end on the 30th. So please, please check them out. These are fantastic prices. I know the holidays are coming up, so if you had considered getting this machine for yourself, for your partner, your spouse, anyone in your life who needs this machine, definitely take advantage of it now. These prices are phenomenal, and as you have seen, Sylvain so excellently describe and show you these machines, they are quality. They are top quality. So definitely run, do not walk to your nearest AllBrands store and take a look at one of these machines for yourself. They're truly amazing. And thank you so much for such an in-depth explanation and overview of both of these machines, Sylvain. We appreciate it so much. I love these machines, and I hope that you guys at home have fallen in love with them too. They're awesome. They are just so awesome. So, guys, we are nearing the end of the show today. It's crazy. An hour has like flown by. That is
one thing I did not mention, but I get asked a lot when I talk about the 77 sewing machine. By the way, right now it went to eco mode. If you need to, go pick up the kids, go do something in the middle of a project, you basically, after 15 minutes of being left alone, the machine goes into power save mode. And even my cat cannot run the machine at this point. So it's kind of safely put. But when you touch the screen, the machine comes right back up and it will wake up. And then you resume your work, right then and there. But I get asked, is there, I said the B70 series, there are 3 machines in that series. There's a B70 Deco, embroidery only, up to 6¼ by 10¼ inch hoop. And there is a Bernette 79. So Bernette 77 is sewing only, 70 is embroidery only, and the 79 is both together. It's the combo machine. So it even has, the 79 even has a stitch designer on board. So if you want to consider your options, those are available. But the star this week is the 77, which is, that's my first love with the 70 series.
It's such a great machine. It really is. And I mean, I say the same thing with any Bernette machine, whatever line we're talking about. They are just such top quality. And again, even though the Bernette price points are a bit lower than you would find with maybe a top of the line Bernina machine, the quality has not been sacrificed in any capacity on these. They are truly little workhorses. No matter which one you pick up, they are going to do quality work. And that is really what is going to help someone, especially someone starting out in sewing, garment sewing, quilting, whatever it might be. That piece of machinery is really going to make a difference. Because, if you are getting frustrated with, your thread's constantly breaking, or, other issues from other brands of machines, that might turn somebody off completely, but having a quality machine is really going to make a world of difference.
Yeah. And with 500 stitches on board, you have a huge catalog.
Yeah.
It's actually fun to just play with them, but of potential applications. Whether you want to quilt to do like reinforced sewing for the wood carrier for the wood stove.
Yeah.
You have the catalog of stitches at your fingertips to basically do this. The machine is very, very versatile that way.
This is a machine that you can grow with, and I think that is so awesome. That's really fantastic. So guys, just one more time to reiterate before we wrap up today's show. Bernina is going to be doing a red is the new Black Friday sale on November 19th through the 30th. So we talked about the B64 and the B77 today, and you can pick up both of these machines or either one of these machines for only $9.99. And just to compare here, I did want to make it clear that the B64 is normally way more money, way more than that. I believe it's $12.99 usually. So after this on the 30th, it will be going back to that price point. So just to hammer the point home, how great these deals are and how much I recommend you picking up one of these machines now. And it's the same thing with the B77. They are both $12.99. So pick it up now. Starting tomorrow, they will be $9.99. So pick them up, come over and come visit us. Take a look. You can test drive one for yourself in one of our store locations. And we put all of our store locations down in the chat. So please come by and see us. And Sylvain, again, this has been such an awesome presentation. I've learned a lot about Bernette machines, and I've fallen in love with them all over again. They are so fantastic. So thank you for lending your knowledge and coming on the show today. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and pull for our gift card. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see our giveaway tool here. Let me go ahead and pull this up for you guys. So we are going to go ahead and draw for our winner for the AllBrands gift card. And let's go ahead and draw. And our winner for our $50 AllBrands gift card. I'm sorry if I said $100 earlier. I meant 50. But our winner is Barbara Jones. Congratulations, Barbara. You have just won a $50 AllBrands gift card. Thank you so much for watching the show. And you know the routine, Barbara. You know the routine. So if you would please email events@allbrands.com and go ahead and give us your name, your number, and your address to claim that gift card, and we'll get it out to you. Congrats. Thank you so much for watching. What a fantastic show this has been. And again, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Sylvain, for coming on the show and teaching us everything about these fantastic machines. I love them so much. And guys, I love these. I'm so excited. I'm sorry. I can't contain my excitement. So we will be, we're actually going to be, next weekend is Thanksgiving. I just realized. So we will be taking a break from the show next weekend or next week so we can be with our families. So this will be the last show before Black Friday. So take advantage of those deals. Stop by, come and see us, and head over to allbrands.com too if you want any more information on these machines. And thank you again, everyone, so much for watching. And thank you for being on the show, Sylvain. This has been so much fun. And again, guys, we will see you not next Thursday, but the Thursday after at 3:30 p.m. Central for our next AllBrands show. So with that, this is the AllBrands show signing off. We hope you have a fantastic rest of your week and a good weekend and a great, happy, and safe Thanksgiving. And we will see you all later. Goodbye, everybody.